For years, we've been told to eat more vegetables, to pile our plates high with greens, and to trust in nature's bounty to nourish our bodies and protect us from disease. And for the most part, that advice has stood the test of time, especially for older adults looking to reduce inflammation, protect their hearts, support brain health, and maintain mobility. But what if some of the most commonly recommended vegetables, those considered healthy staples in kitchens around the world, were actually fueling chronic joint inflammation in people over 60 without anyone realizing it? What if the very foods we think are helping our arthritis, our stiffness, our swelling, are actually making those symptoms worse day after day, meal after meal? This is the shocking reality that many seniors are now waking up to, as nutritional science continues to uncover the complex relationships between specific plant compounds and the inflammatory responses they can trigger in aging bodies. The truth is that not all vegetables are created equal when it comes to joint health, and some, despite their fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants, contain naturally occurring substances that can silently sabotage your mobility. This is especially critical for older adults whose systems are more sensitive, whose gut linings may already be compromised, and whose immune responses are often less regulated. Inflammation isn't just a response to injury or infection. It's a deeper systemic process that can be constantly reignited by what we eat. Over time, even low-grade inflammation can erode cartilage, increase joint pain, and reduce quality of life. And when vegetables that appear healthy are hiding inflammatory agents, it becomes even harder to pinpoint the root cause of joint discomfort. Let's take a closer look at what's really happening inside the body when we eat these problematic foods. For starters, many vegetables in the nightshade family, including some of the ones you've likely considered healthy, contain alkaloids, chemical compounds that act as natural pesticides to protect the plant from predators. While this is great for the plant, it's not always good for the human body. Alkaloids can irritate the gastrointestinal lining, promote gut permeability, and stimulate inflammatory pathways, especially in people who already have underlying joint issues or autoimmune tendencies. When consumed regularly, these compounds can lead to a state of chronic irritation that shows up not in the stomach, but in the knees, hips, fingers, and spine. One of the most misleading culprits? The tomato. Bright red, juicy, and packed with lycopene, tomatoes are often hailed as heart-healthy and antioxidant-rich. But for seniors struggling with arthritis or joint tenderness, tomatoes can be a hidden trigger. They are part of the nightshade family and contain a specific alkaloid called solanine, which has been shown to interfere with enzymes in the muscles and joints, potentially worsening inflammation in predisposed individuals. You might not notice it after one meal, but the cumulative effect of eating tomatoes day after day, whether in sauces, salads, or juices, can slowly increase discomfort and reduce flexibility. Even more confusing is that many seniors may have been told to consume tomatoes for their anti-cancer benefits or heart support, without being warned about their potential impact on joint health. This is where personalized nutrition becomes so essential. Not every body reacts the same way, and what's healing for one person can be harmful for another. Then there's the potato, another seemingly harmless staple in many senior diets. While baked or boiled potatoes can seem like a good source of potassium and energy, they too contain solanine and other glycoalkaloids, especially when consumed with the skin. For individuals over 60 who are experiencing chronic joint stiffness or early osteoarthritis, potatoes can act like gasoline on a smoldering fire. The problem is compounded when these potatoes are fried. Think French fries or hash browns, as high heat cooking increases the concentration of inflammatory byproducts. And the issue doesn't stop with white potatoes. Even some healthier versions like red or gold potatoes can carry similar risks, particularly when eaten in large amounts or as part of meals that already include other nightshades. As the body ages, its ability to detoxify these compounds slows down, making even moderate intake problematic over time. Another vegetable that deserves scrutiny is the bell pepper. Colorful, crunchy, and often featured in stir-fries or salads, bell peppers are commonly believed to be anti-inflammatory due to their high vitamin C content. But again, they are nightshades, and like their cousins, they contain capsaicin and other compounds that can irritate joints and exacerbate existing inflammation. This is especially true for seniors who are already dealing with metabolic syndrome, leaky gut, or autoimmune arthritis. While bell peppers don't pack the same punch as hot chili peppers, their cumulative effects, when eaten frequently, can quietly worsen swelling and pain, leaving seniors wondering why their mobility isn't improving even as they try to eat healthy. It's a cruel irony, but one that is becoming more widely recognized in the fields of nutritional therapy and functional medicine. These are just 3 of the healthy vegetables that can secretly be causing or worsening joint inflammation in older adults. And while this may sound discouraging, it's actually empowering. Because once you know the triggers, you can start making smarter choices that support healing rather than hinder it. Eliminating these vegetables doesn't mean eliminating all vegetables. In fact, there are dozens of other anti-inflammatory options, like cruciferous greens, sweet potatoes, zucchini, and cucumbers, that can provide all the nutrients without the risk. And when seniors make this simple switch, many report significant improvements in joint function, energy levels, and overall quality of life within just a few weeks. It's all about learning what works for your body, listening to its signals, and being willing to challenge outdated assumptions about what is healthy. Once we begin to understand that not all vegetables are universally beneficial, especially for seniors dealing with chronic joint issues, the door opens to a new kind of awareness. One where the relationship between food and inflammation is examined, not just in general terms, but on a very personal, cellular level. For older adults whose immune systems may already be dysregulated from decades of wear and tear, environmental toxins, or nutritional imbalances, the ingestion of certain plant compounds becomes less about nourishment and more about exposure to biochemical irritants that fly under the radar of mainstream dietary advice. While the average person might not think twice about tossing a handful of cherry tomatoes into a salad or roasting bell peppers with dinner, for someone in their 60s or beyond with subtle but persistent joint discomfort, this could be the very pattern keeping them in a constant cycle of pain, swelling, and stiffness that doesn't resolve no matter how many supplements or anti-inflammatory medications they try. The reality is that inflammation in seniors is often cumulative. It's not caused by one big trigger, but by a consistent, repeated exposure to seemingly small aggravators that layer over time and gradually erode the body's capacity to recover. One of the most insidious things about these so-called healthy vegetables is that the symptoms they provoke aren't always immediate. You might not feel joint pain the night you eat potatoes, tomatoes, or peppers, but after weeks or months of regular consumption, the inflammation builds quietly and persistently until it becomes a noticeable problem that doesn't seem to have an obvious source. That's why elimination diets have become so critical in the toolkit of holistic practitioners working with older populations. By removing these problematic vegetables for just 2 or 3 weeks, many seniors begin to notice a remarkable reduction in morning stiffness, joint puffiness, and even fatigue. But this only works when the individual is aware that these vegetables could be the culprits, and unfortunately, most are not, because society has long branded these foods as clean, nutrient-dense, or anti-inflammatory based on surface-level nutritional content without examining how they interact with aging physiology. This gap in understanding is especially dangerous for seniors who are trying their best to eat clean and manage their health naturally, but unknowingly end up sabotaging their efforts with every forkful. Adding to the complexity is the fact that inflammation isn't just a joint problem, it's a whole body problem. The compounds in nightshades don't just affect cartilage and synovial fluid. They can also impair digestion, disrupt sleep, fog the brain, and worsen conditions like autoimmune thyroid disease, which is increasingly common in women over 60. For instance, solanine doesn't just cause muscle aches. It can interfere with the nervous system's ability to transmit smooth signals to the muscles, leading to spasms, tremors, and weakness. Capsaicin and other phytochemicals found in peppers can overstimulate nerve endings, making the body more reactive to other triggers like stress, allergens, or poor sleep. So, while joint inflammation might be the most visible symptom, it's merely one piece of a much larger picture in which the immune system is kept in a low-level fight-or-flight state, unable to fully turn off and repair. This is why some seniors experience not just arthritis pain, but brain fog, slow healing, and worsening sleep, even as they continue to eat their healthy vegetables. It's not a coincidence, and it's not aging alone. It's a mismatch between the foods we eat and the body's capacity to handle certain plant toxins after a certain age. And unfortunately, most conventional doctors don't take this into account because the connection between food and joint pain isn't something they're trained to investigate deeply. Instead, they prescribe anti-inflammatories, steroids, or even joint replacements without ever asking what the patient is eating. This is where seniors have an opportunity to take their health into their own hands, not by rejecting vegetables altogether, but by choosing ones that work with their biology rather than against it. Because once the inflammatory culprits are removed, the body can begin to heal. Joints become more fluid, pain subsides, sleep improves, and energy returns. This kind of healing doesn't require expensive treatments or medications. It starts with awareness and small shifts in diet. But it's not enough to just remove the offending vegetables. It's equally important to replace them with ones that nourish and calm the body. Vegetables like leafy greens, especially kale, collards, and Swiss chard, are packed with magnesium and calcium to support joint and muscle function without the alkaloids that trigger inflammation. Cruciferous veggies like broccoli and cauliflower contain compounds that actually help detoxify the liver and reduce oxidative stress, two things that become more important as we age. And root vegetables like sweet potatoes and carrots can provide complex carbs for sustained energy without spiking blood sugar or irritating joints. When seniors shift their diets this way, away from nightshades and toward anti-inflammatory, mineral-rich, gut-supportive vegetables, they often feel like they've turned back the clock by 10 years or more. Their joints don't crack as much. Their hands don't swell at night. They can get out of bed in the morning without that dreaded stiffness. And it's all because they removed a few specific foods that didn't agree with their unique biochemistry. The truth is, aging doesn't have to mean surrendering to pain and immobility. It's about learning how your body changes and adapting your nutrition accordingly. What worked in your 30s might not work now. And that's okay, because the goal is not to live like you're 30, but to live pain-free and vibrant in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. Removing inflammatory vegetables like tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers might seem like a small change, but it can be the turning point in reclaiming joint health and overall vitality. It's the kind of shift that empowers seniors to feel in control of their health again. And once that control is regained, the possibilities for a more comfortable and active life are endless. When considering the hidden connection between these commonly praised vegetables and joint inflammation in seniors, it's critical to recognize just how often these foods sneak into daily meals and how subtle the resulting symptoms can be, making them easy to dismiss as part of normal aging rather than what they truly are: reactions to dietary irritants that are exacerbating a slow, simmering inflammatory condition. The big issue is that the body of senior isn't the same as it was decades ago. As we age, our gut lining becomes more permeable, a condition often referred to as leaky gut, and our immune system becomes less efficient at regulating itself. These changes make the body more reactive to substances that previously didn't pose a threat, including certain plant compounds like lectins, oxalates, and alkaloids, all of which are prevalent in vegetables such as eggplants, tomatoes, bell peppers, and white potatoes. These foods contain solanine and other glycoalkaloids, which are naturally occurring pesticides plants use to protect themselves from insects, but which can have unintended effects on the human body, especially an older one that may already be battling arthritis, fibromyalgia, or autoimmune disorders. And it's not just joint pain. Seniors consuming these vegetables regularly might experience increased sensitivity to cold weather, stiffness that lasts throughout the day, swelling in fingers and knees, reduced mobility, and even systemic symptoms like headaches, skin rashes, and fatigue, all without ever realizing that their diet is contributing to the problem. For instance, many seniors think their hand stiffness in the morning is just a natural sign of aging or something tied to sleeping position, when in reality, it could be a delayed immune response to something they ate the day before. It's these chronic, low-grade symptoms that often go unaddressed because they don't feel urgent, yet they drastically lower quality of life. Another factor that complicates things is the way these vegetables are prepared. Roasting, grilling, or even lightly sautéing nightshades doesn't significantly reduce their alkaloid content, which means the inflammatory compounds remain intact even when the dish is cooked. And unfortunately, many seniors gravitate toward these cooking methods as part of their healthy eating habits. A grilled veggie platter may seem like the perfect meal choice, but if it's loaded with peppers and eggplants, it might be doing more harm than good. Even tomato-based sauces and pasta, ketchup on sandwiches, or a simple vegetable soup can contain enough nightshade content to irritate joints when consumed repeatedly over time. What's more, even low doses of these compounds, when eaten consistently, can maintain a chronic inflammatory state in the body, which doesn't allow for full healing or joint repair. For someone in their 60s or 70s who is trying to remain active, this chronic background inflammation makes every activity more painful and recovery slower. This is why so many seniors say things like, "I just don't bounce back the way I used to," without understanding that their body is being bombarded internally by substances it no longer tolerates well. Removing these from the diet can have effects that feel almost miraculous, especially when the results appear within just a week or two. Seniors often report clearer thinking, more restful sleep, decreased joint swelling, and even smoother skin, all because the body is no longer being asked to fight off a constant barrage of inflammatory signals. Some skeptics might argue that these vegetables contain antioxidants and vitamins, which is true, but the net effect depends on the individual's tolerance and immune function. What's beneficial for one person can be a burden for another, especially in older adults with compromised gut health or pre-existing joint issues. This individual response is why one-size-fits-all nutrition advice so often fails seniors, and why it's so important to pay close attention to how you feel after meals. One of the best tools for identifying problematic foods is a food and symptom journal. By tracking what you eat and how your body responds over several days or weeks, patterns often emerge. You might find that the days when you eat roasted peppers or tomato-based soups correlate with nights of poor sleep, increased joint stiffness, or next-day headaches. This is powerful information because it gives you the data needed to make targeted changes that actually improve your quality of life. And it empowers seniors to stop relying solely on pills or creams for joint relief and start treating the root cause. Another hidden reason why these vegetables are problematic is their impact on gut bacteria. Nightshades can feed certain bacterial strains in the gut that promote inflammation, while simultaneously reducing the diversity of anti-inflammatory strains. As gut health declines, nutrient absorption suffers, inflammation increases, and even mood and cognition can take a hit. This gut-joint-brain axis is one of the most exciting areas of medical research today, especially in aging populations, because it shows just how interconnected everything is. A vegetable that irritates your gut can indirectly inflame your joints and fog your mind, all without you realizing the source. So eliminating these vegetables isn't just about joint pain. It's about restoring balance to your entire system. For seniors who make this change, the benefits often extend far beyond what they expected. They find themselves able to walk farther, sleep deeper, think clearer, and engage more joyfully in daily activities. Some even report that chronic conditions like migraines or eczema begin to fade. It's all connected, and it all starts with understanding how specific foods, no matter how healthy they're labeled, might be standing in the way of healing. Imagine a senior who's tried everything: prescription medications, physical therapy, even alternative treatments like acupuncture, but nothing gives lasting relief. Then, they remove eggplants, peppers, tomatoes, and potatoes from their diet for 3 weeks, and suddenly the pain begins to ease. This is not a coincidence. This is the body finally getting a break from substances it views as threats. And when you give your body that kind of relief, it repays you in energy, clarity, and mobility. But it all begins with awareness and the willingness to question conventional wisdom. Just because a food is marketed as healthy doesn't mean it's right for your body, especially in your 60s or beyond, when your system becomes less tolerant of stress, whether emotional or nutritional. By eliminating these 3 common vegetables and observing how your body responds, you take the first real step toward reclaiming your comfort and vitality. The truth is, aging is not the enemy, chronic inflammation is. And with just a few strategic changes, you can dramatically reduce that burden and open the door to a life with more movement, less pain, and greater joy. And what makes this shift even more profound is how quickly the body responds when the burden of these inflammatory vegetables is removed. Seniors who've gone years, sometimes decades, without realizing the silent impact of these foods are often stunned by the speed of their recovery. It starts subtly, waking up with less stiffness, walking without needing to brace against sharp knee pain, suddenly finding it easier to get out of a chair or walk upstairs. Then, a week or 2 in, more unexpected changes appear. Fewer afternoon crashes, less swelling in the hands and feet, improved digestion, even fewer mood swings or irritability episodes. These shifts are not placebo. They're the result of the body no longer being under constant immune assault. What once seemed like inevitable aging turns out to be manageable inflammation caused by everyday dietary choices. And it's not just about the vegetables themselves, but also about the overconsumption of them in the name of health. Nutrition messaging has trained seniors to fear fat and overcompensate with vegetables, especially nightshades and crucifers, which can contain goitrogens and gut irritants when eaten in large amounts. The senior digestive system often lacks the enzyme strength and stomach acid levels needed to properly break these down, especially when raw or lightly cooked. Over time, this contributes to bloating, poor nutrient absorption, and the gradual weakening of joints and connective tissues due to chronic inflammation and micronutrient deficiencies. Yet, most seniors are never told that their healthy salad could be the very thing inflaming their joints or clouding their memory. They're prescribed anti-inflammatories instead, or worse, told that pain is a natural part of getting older. But there's nothing natural about living in constant discomfort. The real solution lies in treating food as information, not just fuel. When you give your body the right information, in the form of easily digestible, non-inflammatory foods, it responds with healing. And this is why elimination diets work so well for seniors. By temporarily removing common triggers like eggplants, tomatoes, bell peppers, and white potatoes, and observing the effects, you can clearly identify what your body thrives on and what it reacts against. Many seniors find that simply replacing these vegetables with gentler options, like steamed zucchini, carrots, squash, or leafy greens, provides all the nutritional value without the joint pain or bloating. Pairing those choices with anti-inflammatory fats like avocado, wild-caught fish, or olive oil, used cold, not high-heat cooked, can further reduce inflammation and support joint repair. And hydration plays a huge role too. Without enough water and electrolytes, even the healthiest joints stiffen. Seniors should aim for regular sips of filtered water throughout the day and consider adding a pinch of natural salt or a squeeze of lemon to support cellular hydration. Movement, too, becomes easier once inflammation is reduced. What once felt impossible, like daily stretching or gentle yoga, suddenly becomes manageable again, which in turn promotes better circulation and lymphatic drainage, compounding the benefits. It's a virtuous cycle of healing that starts with the very next meal. But for this to happen, you have to challenge the idea that all vegetables are automatically good. You have to give your body the gift of rest from dietary triggers that have overstayed their welcome. And as symptoms fade, energy returns and clarity sets in, you'll realize that the power to age well was never out of reach. It was simply obscured by foods that didn't agree with your system, no matter how healthy the label claimed they were. The best part is you don't have to make these changes alone. In fact, if you've been watching our content, you know that Healthful Living 60 Plus is dedicated to empowering seniors with the truth about nutrition, healing, and aging with strength. We believe that no one should suffer simply because of outdated dietary advice or unrecognized food sensitivities. That's why we bring you actionable insights like this, grounded in the latest science and proven by real-life results. If you or someone you love has been struggling with joint pain, stiffness, or fatigue despite eating what's considered a healthy diet, this is your invitation to try something different. Eliminate these 3 vegetables for just 3 weeks. Pay close attention to how your body responds. Keep a journal. Be open to discovering that your body is capable of more healing than you thought possible. Then, as your symptoms improve, reintroduce food slowly and see which ones trigger the return of pain or inflammation. This process, simple yet powerful, puts the control back in your hands. It shows you that aging well is not just about surviving. It's about thriving with energy, mobility, and the joy of living pain-free. So next time you reach for that tomato soup or grilled eggplant, remember this message. You have a choice. You have the power to feel better starting today. And as always, for more in-depth health insights tailored to seniors, keep tuning into Healthful Living 60 Plus, where your journey to vibrant, empowered aging continues with every story we share.